You're listening the Virtual CISO podcast, providing the best insight on information security and security IT advice to business leaders everywhere.
Right. So another piece, which is definitely super important, is the CIEM component. So what is CIEM and why is it important?
So CIEM is basically something I'm super excited with, because this is a category that our team at Ermetic originally created together with Gartner many years back. And that talks about everything that has to do with identity security in the cloud. Now, we all know that in the cloud, identity is basically the new perimeter. This is correct for software as a service, obviously for any cloud application, but also true for cloud infrastructure. Basically, identities are the main control surface for anything you do in the cloud. Once you have a root user or a privileged user in your AWS or Azure environments, you can go and configure whatever you want, right, in any way you want. Because it's the main control plane, it's also the biggest attack surface for threat actors. And all the threat actors are looking for privileged cloud users to take over cloud infrastructure environments. The thing is that it's coupled with the fact that because of the richness of cloud infrastructure, identities in the cloud are also extremely complex. And because they're complex, the chance of misconfigurations goes through the roof. It's very difficult to make sure that a specific user, and we talk about users, we can be talking about John and Arick, human administrators, but we can also talk about service accounts and application accounts. It's very difficult to ensure that users operate according to what we call the principle of least privilege, that they have just the right permissions that they need in order to do their job. And it's very easy to over-provision identities, give them more permission than they require. And, by working with thousands of customers over the years and, scanning millions and millions of cloud identities and resources, we've seen that, statistics that over between 10 to 15% of all the identities in the cloud tend to be admin. Over 25 to 35% are very privileged. They might not be admins, but they effectively have access to any data in the cloud or what have you, right? And that's overwhelming. And in the cloud, we have way more identities because we have a lot of application identities, right, that are created automatically. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of identities with privileged access. This is not a situation we're used to from on-premise environments where organizations over time, by leveraging tools like PAM and PIM, learn to control privileged identities. That creates a huge attack landscape, and we realized that early on. And we don't believe that today you can have a comprehensive cloud infrastructure security solution or CNAPP without a strong component of cloud infrastructure entitlement management, which is CIEM, that basically gives you visibility to who all your privileged identities are, what are the risks that related to those privileged identities, do they have excessive permissions, are they not protected with MFA, et cetera, and also tie the context of those identities to the broader picture. So, for example, we mentioned service accounts. So if you have an administrative service account and it is used by your deployment pipeline, right, your infrastructure is code that creates new resources, that's fine. But if it's used by a server in your environment and that server has critical vulnerabilities on the workload protection side, that's a big issue, because the fact that that server has a critical vulnerability puts the admin identity at risk, right? Because someone can actually basically break into that server, leverage that vulnerability, exploit that, compromise the server, take control over the server. The moment they do that, they take control over the privileged identity. And that's what we call in our lingo toxic combination, right? That's a combination between a privileged account and a vulnerable server. And these toxic combinations really present basically realistic attack scenarios against your infrastructure. And if you look at CIEM alone that focuses on identity, or vulnerability management tools alone that focus on servers, they can't actually connect the dots. And this is where CNAPP basically kicks in, because it gives you this comprehensive context and allows you connect those dots in a very intelligent way.